Isle of beauty, Isle of splendor, Isle to all so sweet and fair, almost surely gazing in wonder at thy gifts so rich and rare. Valleys, hills, and mountains, all these gifts we do extol. Healthy land, so like all fountains, giving share that warms the soul. Dominica, God has blessed thee with a
which will be presented to you by Dr. Clayton Shillingford, one of the luminaries in our Dominican community.
I'd like to say, on behalf of the Dominica Academy of Arts and Sciences, of which I'm president, and we have a number of members here, Irvin Andrew, of course, Gabriel Christian, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, and Linton Scotland here, the main organizers of this kind of event. I think they were absolutely correct in calling it Caribbean Glory. It is a very glorious evening for us all, and one of the anticipations I would have is that at some point we're able to carry the message that we heard this evening to the young people in the Caribbean. I think they need it. They need to know that there were people who served from the Caribbean area in the wars and who fought for freedom. That message needs to get across to them. I think to some large extent sometimes they've, shall we say, lost their way, and we need to bring them back to a path of courage and work and devotion and contribution to our Caribbean history. I don't think they know it well enough. I'm not sure how we're going to do it, but I believe it would be absolutely imperative that we get this message across to those folks. Now, as far as Baroness Scotland is concerned, this is the first time I'm meeting you, ma'am. I do know, of course, of your achievements and your history. In fact, on our DAS website, there is a whole story of your life. And if you wish to go there, you will see, well, not everything, most of the important things. And you're right there next to people like Archbishop Felix. You're right there next to Justice Aline, Dr. Georges, and other Dominican luminaries, important people in the Caribbean. And I think this is something that we have to do from time to time. We have to take the time to recognize our people, to give them due credit for their achievements. And if we're able to do that, I think we will give our Caribbean nation, our Caribbean people, a greater sense of pride in what we have been able to achieve around the world. And so with those few words, it certainly gives me great pleasure. It's a great privilege for me to give this award to Baroness Scotland. Let me read it. It says, Dominica Academy of Arts and Sciences, the Order of Merit is bestowed upon the Right Honorable, the Baroness Scotland of Ashall, QC, Her Britannic Majesty's Attorney General. Sounds very impressive. For excellence in the legal profession and bestowing honor and dignity on the land of her birth, Dominica, and the entire Caribbean diaspora. At Washington, D.C., June 2009, Caribbean American Heritage Month. Sorry. Pastures, greenland, flowers of beauty, filling all with pure delight. occurred to me that perhaps I could, during those visits, begin to look at the possibility of doing a study on the Dominican rainforest. So I called my supervisor, Dr. Dennis Adams, and I said, look, I would like to look into the possibility of doing a very intensive study of the Dominican rainforest, which was unusual in many ways because this was the natural forest that was there before the colonists turned up. It was not, the rainforest was not a rainforest of plants that were brought in. These were plants that were there even during the Carib habitation and all of that. Those plants was always there.
And so, Clayton, for people who will see this, they have to understand that Dominica was one of the countries that was last colonized because of the fierce resistance of the Caribs. And even after the Caribs were subdued and the Africans were, or enslaved Africans were brought in, they too rose up in great many instances. And so a lot of the original rainforest remained, had not been chopped down for sugarcane. Also, the topography did not favor sugarcane. Is that right?
That's very, very correct. Very, very correct. Where the rainforest in the other islands had been chopped down for economic use of wood and all that, in the case of Dominica, the rainforest, the natural rainforest, remained intact for a long, long time without being destroyed. So it was that particular system that I began to study. One location was Glogomir. Dr. Adams came down. We selected areas. The other area was Tefem. And those two areas, they were ecologically different. Glogomir was on a slope and Tefem was on flat land. And so the soil structure and the environment was sufficiently different that some of the species in Glogomir, you didn't find them in Tefem. So I was able to make a comparison between the two areas, between Tefem and Glogomir.
Glogomir was the soil density, or the amount of soil you had before you got to hard packed rock. Was that much lower than in Tefem?
The Glogomir soil was deeper and had a different capacity for holding water. Tefem was flat, the soil was shallow, and some of the plants even developed what we call aerial roots because they couldn't get enough oxygen from the soil. So the roots came out of the soil into the air so that the plant could get, the trees could get oxygen. So there was a difference in the distribution of plants in Glogomir and in Tefem.
And how important do you think is that study of our forest, our soil type, to the development of our agriculture sector and its link to the botanic gardens?
Well, the nature of the soil in Tefem and in Glogomir, they gave you a sense of the difference in the characteristic of the soil and what it would take to plant in those soils and what other things you could not plant because the soil was too shallow. So we could learn from the botanical distribution of the plants and also from the ecology, from the soil structure of that. We could learn what the commercial plants would do well and which ones would not do well. We were able to figure that out.
And